watched a chicken, I bet you've seen them do this, scratch at the ground. Why do they do that? Well, there are a few good reasons for them to scratch, but in truth they mostly do it just because they are chickens. It's an inbuilt instinct that they just can't help but scratch. Even a tiny baby chick who has never seen another chicken, almost as soon as he's steady on his feet, will be using those tiny legs to scratch. Of course, you can guess that the main purpose for scratching at the ground is to look for food. The ancestors of today's chicken, the jungle fowl, also scratch the ground to uncover their food, the tasty morsels hidden under the leaf litter on the jungle floor. And modern chickens still do it. Even if you provide them with perfectly balanced chicken feed, and I believe you should, and even if you make their feed readily available at all times on demand from their feeder, as I do, and even if they're not hungry, they still love to forage by scratching at the ground. Of course, they enjoy eating the bugs and seeds that they find for themselves. Maybe it's the same as we enjoy going fishing rather than the easy option of fish in a can. But somehow it's ingrained more deeply than just the search for food. Have you noticed that if you sprinkle some feed on the ground for your chickens, they don't just pick that feed off the ground, they scratch the ground as well. It almost seems counterproductive. The feed that was sprinkled on top of the ground, easily accessible, is now buried under the litter that they have just scratched over the top of it. Have you noticed that? Chickens just can't help but scratch. Chickens kept in commercial battery cages can't scratch because they don't have enough room, and often the floor of their cage is just wire with no litter to scratch in. Nowadays, even the poultry industry understands that their productive units, what we would call chickens, are more productive if they're allowed to indulge in at least some of their natural behaviours, including scratching. So if you want your chickens to be happy and content, make sure they have the opportunity to scratch. Let them exercise their natural instincts to scratch by using loose material in their run. I prefer wood chips, which are eventually good for my garden, but anything that's loose will provide your chickens with the opportunity to scratch around and turn over that loose stuff to check what might be underneath. And if you do free range your chickens on your lawn or garden, be prepared for lots of scratching, digging up any soft earth, shredding the vegetation, and exposing the roots of your trees, because chickens love to scratch. Scratching is good for a chicken's mental well-being and also for her physical health. A chicken who spends lots of time scratching will be physically fit, with strong bones and good muscle tone, and she won't be so prone to being overweight. Being fit means she can more easily lay her eggs. And all that activity is good for her digestive system too, helping her make the most of the nutrients she's eating and keeping everything in tip-top condition right down to her toes. Scratching on the ground helps wear her claws down so they don't become overgrown. Chickens also scratch around when they're building or renovating a nest. They like to use their legs to make a bowl-shaped hollow in the nesting material, and then they will use their beaks to fine-tune the furnishings until everything is comfortable and just right. Check out my video if you want to know all about a chicken's favourite nesting material. For some reason, I always fluff up the nest box straw when I collect the eggs, and by the next day, they've made that hollow bowl-shaped nest all over again. Another reason you'll see your chickens scratching at the ground is when they're getting ready to dust bathe. Dust bathing is another instinct that's built into chickens. Baby chicks will dust bathe in any kind of loose material that they have access to. I have a video all about dust bathing and why chickens do it. Before their dust bath, chickens usually scratch around at the ground to soften up the dirt to make it nice and loose for tossing around and working it under their feathers. A chicken will dig out quite a deep hollow for dust bathing, and if you let them choose their dust bathing location, it's usually not where you would prefer it to be. And did you know that chickens are right-handed? Or perhaps that's not the correct way to say it, but watch these chickens scratching. They typically start with their right leg first, and then might use their left leg to turn over whatever their right foot has scratched up. One animal behaviourist has suggested that this might be because the right leg is controlled by the left side of the brain, and the left side of the brain is better than the right at discerning objects, and therefore better for recognising whether whatever has just been uncovered is edible. I don't know whether that's completely correct, but watch your chickens next time you see them scratching, and see whether you think they tend to use their right leg first. I've noticed another odd thing about the way chickens scratch at any food on the ground, whether it's a pellet of chicken feed or a wiggling bug. They peck at it and then lift their heads and scratch at the ground where they were just pecking, without apparently looking at what they're scratching at. I suppose that's because of where their eyes are located on the side of their head. Chickens can more easily see out to the side than straight ahead, and with their monocular vision they can see very well with each eye independently, so she can keep one eye out for any approaching danger while she's investigating tasty tidbits at her feet. I have a video about the amazing way chickens see the world. So now you know why it's so important for you to make sure your chickens have access to ground cover that is soft enough for them to scratch around. Being able to scratch helps keep her healthy and happy in lots of ways. I hope your chickens are happy and healthy too. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. See you next time.